is a lasting peace. We've had a bit of an overview of NGOs' work. Let's now look at what's being done by governments. We have another person with a great deal of experience in working for peace. Antoine, do come on stage. Antoine works in the Federal Department for Foreign Affairs in Switzerland, particularly working on integrating local peace initiatives in the broader national processes. He's also a specialist in the Middle East. Antoine.
Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I was asked to talk about my relation with Switzerland and Geneva, and to do so, I decided today I've chosen a tie with the colors of Geneva as a recognition for what I learned and what Geneva and Switzerland gave to me skills to work where I am working now. Well, I would like to thank the organizer for their kind invitation to share with you from here, the Palais des Nations, the Hub for Peace, the Globe, my personal experience with peace, and try to answer the question, what peace means to me. This question reminded me of the first time when, in other contexts, I was asked a similar question. 30 years ago, I led a group of 24 youth activists from Lebanon to a conference in Cyprus entitled Lebanese Are Making Peace. And the receptionist at the hotel asked me, if you are one group coming from one country, why half of you traveled by sea and the other half came by air? Why we went to Cyprus at that time? Because it was impossible in Lebanon, crippled by the war, to meet. And also I thought, in choosing the place, to give the Lebanese an opportunity to see how to live in a divided country and to draw their observation and to learn. So after a week spent together, the group pledged to work together hand in hand to avert the disintegration of the country and to restore peace and stability. From that day, I continue to ask myself the same question, trying to find an answer to my personal commitment to peace and to justify my involvements that draw the path for successive professional assignment. I work in conflict and post-conflict situations that took me from Lebanon to Iraq, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kosovo, Palestine, Israel, and I see a lot of familiar faces in this room that I have met during my different assignments. Revisiting my direct and indirect implication in peace initiative drive me to talk about my interaction with Switzerland and inter alia with Geneva. I grew up in the mid of Lebanese civil war, where I decided to respond my way to the atrocities of the war by volunteering with the Red Cross movement as a first aider. I had the choice either to leave the country as a refugee, that was the option of Jimmy. Me, I decided to stay and not to carry a weapon, but to volunteer for a noble cause. Well, my experience as a first aider exposed me to the suffering and the plights of civilian, displaced and refugees, to which I contributed to alleviate with my colleagues, employer and institutional partners to alleviate their suffering. This exposure led me to Geneva the first time the capital of humanity and human rights. And also it took me to Montreux, where I got inspired to launch local and national Lebanese peaceful reconciliation initiatives. These endeavors developed a cooperation and later to a partnership with the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs in hosting the 2007 the Inter-Lebanese Second-Tier Leader Dialogue, known under the Mont-Pelerin process. So we went a little bit far from Geneva, but at that time Geneva was fully booked for other important events. Definitely my interaction with Switzerland and Geneva actors forced my undertaking of peace and armed me with adequate tools and skills to tackle personal challenges and professional tasks. Peace is a precursor for social well-being, national prosperity, regional welfare, and serene humanity. The fair sharing of the dividends of peace could be an utopia, but it should be the objective of any peacemaker in our days, especially in the Middle East region, where scarcity of natural resources are an immediate source of everlasting tension, sowing the seeds of violence, conflicts, and war. In the different contexts where I was active, I contributed and continue to foster conducive environment for inclusive, long-lasting peace. When I was a first aider, I took the training to do the CPR, and we learned 3 words. It's check, listen, and feel. And in my work as a facilitator of dialogue, I use the same concept, but is to convene, to listen, and to forward. Because I think the role of facilitator is to convene and let the local parties themselves run the process. So that's the principle that I applied in most of these places. Well, returning to Cyprus, a few years ago, I took back the same group that went in 1980s for the first meeting to celebrate 25 years of informal dialogue. And I took them to the same place, making them sit in on the same chair they sat on 25 years ago. Well, at that time, we were young people. Now most of these people are active in their political parties, and we had to meet 3 days. And they surprised us the last day because we were preparing a draft for a final communique. They said, we don't want a final communique. So they stood up and took their shirts. What they have done all together, they went one night before to a shop, make a photo of themselves, of the second-tier leaders, and print it on a T-shirt and wore the T-shirt, and they say, this is the message and this is the final communique. Thank you.